Okay, aloha everyone. My name is Evan Weber, and I am going to be the facilitator for this call. I am facilitating a little bit last minute. Another one of our team members, Alani, had planned to facilitate, but got COVID. Such are the times. So we sent her um, our aloha and hope that she gets better soon. So bear with me if it's a bit of a bumpy ride, but we are so happy to have you all here. Thank you everybody for joining us on your Thursday night. And we are going to go ahead and jump right into it. So I'm just gonna go over the agenda real quick and give you all a sense of where we're headed tonight. So this call is going to be an hour from 6 to 7 p.m. And then at the end of the hour, we will have a little bit of time for Q&A if folks want to hang around and ask questions. So right now we're doing our welcome and going over the agenda and logistics. And we're going to get into a little bit about our Hawai'i, what our values are, our goals and our plan to achieve those goals, talk about the Our Hawai'i Pledge, how we are going to get more candidates on board with the pledge, and how you can join us. So that is the plan for the evening. Does that sound exciting to everyone? Feel free to drop some excitement in the chat if you're ready. So just a little bit about logistics and requests for the call. So as you can see, most of you are on mute right now, which is great. We're going to keep it that way for the most part. And yeah, just please try to stay on mute while myself and the other presenters are speaking. If you are having tech issues, try to drop it in the chat and we'll see if we can help you out. And you can unmute yourself if you are called on to speak or you're trying to speak by pressing unmute, or if you're on your phone, I believe it's *6. And then lastly, we do have a tight agenda, so please try to hold your questions until the Q&A at the end. And if you cannot stick around for that, you can go ahead and send your questions to the email address on the screen, which is pledge@ourhawai'i.org. All right. Well, I just wanted to spend a little bit of time introducing who we are going to have presenting on the call today. So hi, my name is Evan. I live in Kailua, Oahu, and I'm going to be the facilitator for the call tonight. And if other folks are on yet, feel free to introduce yourselves real quickly. If not, that's okay too. They'll be joining us shortly. Great. Well, we'll just keep going since you can see everybody whose faces are there, and they will speak momentarily. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and jump into it. Without further ado, what are we all here for? What is Our Hawai'i? So Our Hawai'i is a brand new organization. It started last fall, and it started in a moment of need. We started Our Hawai'i in response to the realization that one of our federal representatives, Representative Ed Case, was in Congress really acting very in a big way against the will of the people. First, he voted against federal COVID relief in the spring of 2021. Then much later in the fall of 2021, at a moment when Congress and the president were on the verge of passing major legislation to do things that would really benefit the people of Hawai'i, perhaps more than anywhere else in the country, tackling the climate crisis, aiding service workers, helping multi-generational families take care of their kupuna and their keiki, Representative Ed Case was one of a small handful of members of Congress who was blocking this legislation that would dramatically support his district. And this was really emblematic of something that a lot of us, maybe a lot of you on this call, have felt at many points, which is that we have these representatives in Congress, in the State House, some of them who are really great, huge champions for the people. We've got one, maybe a couple on the call tonight, but too many of them who really give lip service to Hawaiian values, local people, and the things that we care about. They talk a lot of aloha, but when it comes time to fight for aloha or vote for aloha, they don't necessarily have our backs. And so we started Our Hawaiʻi to try to change that. And what Our Hawaiʻi is a new organization that is building a movement to create a Hawaii that puts Kama'aina and Kanaka Maoli, not big money interests, first. We are grounded in our past and looking towards our future and rooted in shared values of aloha, kuleana, and malama pono. We educate, organize, and engage in elections to expose the corruption and complacency that we believe are holding our islands back, and advance an agenda to make Hawaii work for all of us, not just the wealthy few. So that's what Our Hawaiʻi is and what we're all about. And I'm going to take a moment now to play a video that perhaps some of you have seen. Maybe it's even why you're on this call, but I think it really captures sort of the moment that we're in, what we're about, and what our plan is. So I'm gonna play that for a few minutes to get us all hyped up.
We all know the saying, lucky we live Hawaii. But these days, it feels like everything that makes Hawaii Hawaii is slipping away. With luxury condominiums piercing the sky, wealthy strangers replacing our neighbors, and the military polluting our most precious sources of life, a new generation is faced with the question that has been asked since the first occupiers landed on these shores. Who is Hawaii for? Corrupt, do-nothing politicians have ignored the problems facing everyday people while doing the pay-to-play bidding for out-of-state investors, luxury developers, big tourism, the military, and corporate monopoly. Those who want to sell out or desecrate our sacred islands. While they pad their pockets, we're rummaging through ours. The cost of living is skyrocketing, forcing families who have lived here for generations, especially Kanaka Maoli, to make tough choices about whether they can even continue life here on the Aina that they've known and loved for generations. When is enough enough? These big money interests and the do-nothing politicians who serve them want us to believe that what's happening to our islands is inevitable. But we know that it doesn't have to be this way. Another Hawaii is possible and within reach. We just have to seize it.
How? It all starts with getting the people who have caused the problems out of the way, and then replacing them with a new set of leaders who will put the people of Hawaii first.
It's time to end the stranglehold that luxury developers, out-of-state investors, and big firms have on our laws, and get some folks in office who won't just give lip service to aloha, but fight to make it real.
That's why we're introducing the Our Hawaiʻi Pledge, to ask our politicians to reject money from those who sell out our islands and to stand with those who live to protect them, to publicly commit to the issues that matter most to us, the people.
Actually ending our housing crisis and treating housing as a human right, not a commodity.
Lowering energy and gas prices for working people by accelerating our transition to 100% renewable energy and transit this decade.
Permanently protecting our drinking water and returning land stewardship to the native peoples and practices.
Making sure that all people in our islands have a fair shot and are protected regardless of
of your race, gender, or sexual orientation.
And above all, reforming our government to make it work for the people by ending the pay-to-play, big money corruption, holding it all back.
When a politician takes the Our Hawai'i pledge, it means that they stand with us, not big money. It's proof that they care about preserving our way of life on these islands and building a better future for generations to come. We're coming together, Kupuna and Keiki, Kama'aina and Kanaka Maoli, working families and the poor, to say A'ole, enough already. We will have a say in the future of these islands. This election is our chance to start steering our Ba'a home.
It's time for a new Hawai'i.
The old Hawai'i.
Our Hawai'i.
All right. Who's fired up after watching that? Feel free to drop any reactions in the chat, but actually, don't get too excited in the chat because we're going to give you a moment, a couple minutes here to talk amongst yourselves about how you feel after watching that video, what it brings up for you, and anything else about why you're here. So we're gonna put folks into breakout rooms for just 2 minutes right now, and then we'll bring you back. You're gonna be randomly assigned with other folks, so don't be shy. And we'll bring you back in a couple minutes and hear from everyone. So 2 minutes, counting down right about now. Hello, for the folks who are just joining, others are in breakout rooms right now chatting about the video that we just watched. But they'll be back in just about a minute. Aloha, welcome back. Folks are just coming back from their breakout rooms right now. Everyone should be back in about 10 seconds or so. Okay. I think everybody's back. Great. I would love for maybe we'll just hear from two people. You can raise your hand or drop in the chat, just something that came up in your breakout group, something that someone else shared, and no more than one sentence. Any takers?
Sure, I can. I don't mind going first. I think it's well, there was one other person in the room that spoke, so I think we're trying to listen to get information. But my first thought was, yes, we're aware of this now. How do we take action?
Awesome. Well, you're in the right place, Dorothy. Thanks for that. We'll get into that shortly.
This is Reggo. So to me, in the chat, like the question seems to be around integrity, and that's serving our integrity.
Had a little bit trouble hearing you, Megheso, but I think we caught the gist. Great. Well, thank you both. And now I'm gonna pass it over to Sautia, who is one of the stars of that video that we just watched, to share a little bit about what brings him here. So Sautia, over to you.
Thanks, Evan. Hi, everyone. My name is Sautia. I was featured in that cool film that you all saw. So what brought me to, I guess, to organize with Our Hawai'i was that, I mean, for a really long time, I started to notice the problems around Hawaii, specifically around homelessness. And I was aware of like the disparity in terms of like how much the government really takes care of the people. And this is from sharing examples with friends who were from other countries. And so that kind of like jump-started like my interest in politics. And like so many of us during COVID, many families have suffered losses. I had lost my grandma, including my father, in 2020. And so that definitely left a hole for me to fill, not only like financially, but also like emotionally. You know, I'm a proud brother to 3 younger siblings. And so just the thought of like so the struggles that they would soon face, it was just really scary given climate change and all that. And so that's kind of what prompts me and still pushes me to get involved. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Sophia. Yeah, and I think we all have our own stories that bring us here, and yeah, I really appreciate you sharing, Satya. And I think your story is emblematic of what a lot of people across the islands are facing right now, just overlapping challenges, whether it's with our families, with the economy, with the environment. And yeah, that's why we're all here. So from there, we're gonna talk about some of the values that our Hawai'i is grounded in. And Satya, were you still down to read that part out for us? I'll turn the screen sharing back on so you can see. Where is it? There it is. All righty.
All right. Our values. So Our Hawaii values, our Hawaii action values, aloha. We lead with aloha in everything we do. And everything we do is because of our aloha for our shared home and ohana. We try to see each other with good eyes and assume best intentions. Kuleana is another one of our values. We take initiative knowing that we are collectively responsible for our own destiny and that we have both the power and responsibility to change our collective future. Malama Pono, we take good care of ourselves, each other, and our shared home. We ask for help when we need it, and offer when we have it. And we try to have fun along the way. Yeah, that's a fun one. And then Laulima, only through collective action can we create change. We join hands, Kanaka Maoli and Kama'aina, Keiki and Kupuna, island to island across our differences to build a better future together. Yeah, that was that.
Awesome. Thank you, Satya. We're going to keep it moving. Now I'm going to share a little bit about what our goals are. And now that we've gone over sort of the values that guide us, and our plan and how we're going to do it, so that Dorothy's questions can get answered, which I'm sure many of you share. So yeah, gonna go ahead and start here with our goals. And our long-term goals are pretty straightforward and big. Long-term, we want to win governing majorities at the state level in all the counties and in our federal delegation by ending pay-to-play corruption and electing leaders who will put Kama'aina and Kanaka Maoli first. And with those governing majorities, we want to pass laws that will restructure our society so that it works for local working people, rather than a handful of wealthy interests inside and outside of our state. So in short, we want to change the system because it is not working for the majority of people in Hawaii right now. And if we do not come together to change it, things will get much worse. But those are big goals, and it might take a while to achieve them. So we want to start in the here and now with more achievable goals. And so for 2022, our goals as our Hawaii are to expose the corruption at the heart of our politics and focus the narrative of this election cycle on issues and policies instead of personalities. We want to show who is willing to stand with the people of Hawaii by getting dozens of candidates to take the Our Hawaii Pledge. And we want to build a base of political leaders from there by electing at least 15 or so of those folks to office at the local, state, or federal level. And lastly, we want to build a base of leaders and activists who will continue to organize with Our Hawaii for future campaigns. So how are we going to do this? Those are big goals, both for the long term and for this year. So I want to get a little bit into our plan so that everybody can know a little bit about what's behind the scenes. And if you decide to take action with us, know what plan that action is rooted in. So we have a 3-step plan for this year. Step 1, we've already done, which is really exciting, but it's a continual process. We introduced the Our Hawaii Pledge, and we're going to get more into what exactly that is and why it's so important in a little bit, and using it to expose the corruption at the heart of our politics and get elected officials right now, while everybody is campaigning for office, to show which side they're on the side of the people, on the side of local people, or on the side of big money interests. Step 2 is that once we've identified who those people are, we actually need to get some of them elected to office. So Our Hawaii is not going to stand in the sidelines, and we're going to need your help to actually, over the next couple of months, through the August 13th primary especially, but all the way through the general election, get Our Hawaii candidates elected to office in critical seats from the county level all the way up to the governor's office. And step 3, our last and final plan for the year, this one's my favorite, is that we're going to take some time to regroup, assess, and see what is possible. We're trying to be humble and realistic here. This is a brand new movement. We don't know what is achievable, but we know that we have to start somewhere this cycle. And from there, if we have been really successful this election cycle in shifting the conversation and in getting the right folks to elected to office, we might be actually able to come together as a big coalition and push for some really meaningful systemic changes. Maybe it's on democracy reform to really hooey the system and get big money out of politics for good. Maybe it's on housing to address one of the most urgent crises that are facing local people right now. And maybe it's different for different islands or different communities. We don't know where we're going to be, and we want to be realistic about that. So that's the plan for 2022, and we'd love to have you on board. What it looks like practically is right now we're doing this big push around the Our Hawaiʻi Pledge. In July, we are going to be making endorsements based on who has and hasn't taken the pledge, and start campaigning for and against candidates for office, for candidates who stand with the people and against those who are sticking with big money. We're going to get out the vote through the primary. And then in September, we're going to regroup and plan for the general election. So that's our plan. And now I want to take some time to talk and give a little bit more detail about something that you all have heard about at this point, which is the Our Hawaiʻi Pledge, which is really at the center of this plan. So the Our Hawaiʻi Pledge is been a huge breakthrough in the political conversation already, just in the last week and a half since we have launched. Many of you may have seen that over 30-something candidates have already signed the Our Hawaiʻi Pledge. I think we're up to 31 or 32 candidates, from city council to OHA to state representatives and senators, all the way up to governors and people who are running for governor and Congress. So this is really breaking through. To be honest, our goal was that in the first week, we might get 5 candidates to take this pledge. We thought that it was maybe a higher bar than Hawaiʻi politicians were willing to commit to. And we've been overwhelmed and really happy with the amount of support that we've seen so far. But there's over 300 something candidates who are running for office. So 31, 32, that's only a fraction of that 300 something, 10%. And we're setting our sights big. We want to get as many folks as possible signed on to stand with the people and not big money. So what is the pledge? The pledge is pretty simple. It has 2 core parts. The first part is reject the corrupting big money influence that is holding our islands back, rejecting bribes that lobbyists give, and rejecting campaign contributions, which are legalized bribes that happen during the election cycle. So that's part 1. And this part 2 is to back this awesome policy agenda called Solutions for Our Hawaiʻi, which we'll get more into in a little bit. That is really a set of common sense solutions supported by vast majorities of Hawaiʻi residents and voters to put our people and places first. So the Our Hawaiʻi Pledge is a commitment from candidates to be an independent voice for Kama'aina and stand against the pay-to-play special interest corruption holding Hawaii back by, again, summarizing, turning down political bribes in any form and rejecting campaign contributions above $100 from corporate PACs, lobbyists, and the executives of luxury and out-of-state developers, major landowners, hotel conglomerates, energy monopolies, and military contractors, right? These are some of the folks who have had the biggest corrupting influence in Hawaii politics and are doing the most dirty pay-to-play, behind the scenes, and sometimes overt corruption. And part two is championing this solutions for our Hawaii policy agenda, which we're going to get into in a little bit. So the solutions for our Hawaii is a policy agenda that is backed now by 14 organizations, statewide and community organizations across the islands. It's a diversity of organizations representing labor and workers movements like IKEA and Living Wage Hawaii, which has had a big win in the legislature with the governor's signature yesterday. I hope people saw that. Hawaiian sovereignty groups like Aina Mamona, environmental groups like Sierra Club and 350, faith-based groups like Faith Action, and many more. These are some of the leading experts on a lot of the issues, that are in the Solutions for Our Hawaii Pledge, and a handful of them contributed to actually this policy agenda, as well as other policy experts from across the islands. So that's what Solutions for Our Hawaii is all about, which makes up a core backbone of this pledge. Again, the top lines here. Number one, house our people and our housing crisis and treat housing as a human right, not a commodity. Cut energy costs by moving an accelerated transition to 100% renewable energy in transit, moving away from the monopoly systems of HECO and fossil fuel gas that are really crushing local people here in Hawaii right now. Malama Aina, caring for our environment, permanently protecting our drinking water across these islands, and returning stewardship to of our lands and waters to Native peoples and practices, and ensuring fairness, making sure that all people in Hawaii have a fair shot to participate in our economy and our society. And last but not least, again, a critical part of this pledge is not just getting candidates to commit to practice democracy by rejecting this big money influence, but actually commit, if they get into office, to championing policies that will fix this system once and for all by reforming our government to make it work for the people, ending this pay-to-play corruption. And you can, if you're interested more in the policy wonk, if you're one of those folks, we'll have links that you can go dive into all this policy stuff more deeply, but that's sort of the top lines. With that, I want to pass it over to Janae Capella, Representative Capella, who is here on the call with us. She was an early signer of the pledge and is a huge champion for local working people in the Hawaii House. And she has a front row seat to some of the current issues that exist in our democracy, and why this pledge is important in this moment. So with that, Representative Capella, I want to pass it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Evan. And thank you for your effort and putting your effort into something like this, like the pledge, like the training. I think that for me, it's really exciting when I got asked to speak today, because we're actually celebrating 50 years of Title IX, landmark legislation that was passed by Patsy Mink, who was the first woman of color to ever be represented or to ever take a seat in Congress. And that just goes to show how much representation truly matters. Right? For me, one of the biggest reasons why I ran for office was because I looked around the legislature and I didn't see anyone who looked like me, who talked like me, who dealt with the same trauma as an Indigenous woman, as an Indigenous individual and person that my family, my neighbors had gone through, didn't deal with the same kind of issues of poverty, and that I think so many people across our islands have dealt with. So for me, I truly believe that everyday working people need to be representing everyday working people, and that representation matters. My name is Janae Capella. I represent Kona and Ka'u in the State House. Because of redistricting and gerrymandering, I have now been shifted and represent a very, very large district on Hawai'i Island coming in November if I have the privilege of being reelected. So it'll go from South Kona to just the edge of Keau. So if you live in that area, I hope to have the pleasure, of getting to meet and getting to know you more. But once again, I'm so privileged to be able to have this time with you folks, because I think this, in reality, this is how we change the legislature. It's not just about getting one person elected, because one politician isn't gonna fix it all. It's not possible. We need not just a full slate of legislators, we need every single one of us coming together. So it's opportunities like this where we're learning about not just the corruption, but we're also learning about our place in fixing it. That's what creates the change that we truly need. I have one of the incredible opportunities I had this past year was serving and creating the Working Families Caucus, talking about bringing people together. The Working Families Caucus is a coalition and a center of bringing advocates into the building, operating in a very different fashion than most caucuses have operated, where it's always been legislators, maybe inviting a couple of advocates. This is advocates and coalitions building and setting the tone for what we know our communities need, then working with legislators to help push a shared agenda. Because at the end of the day, it's not about one legislator having power or a handful of people in a building making all the decisions. My one vote as a legislator means just as much as the one vote that the Speaker of the House has. And it's been really difficult this last year and these last 2 years to be able to be a lone voice or to be one of 2, maybe 3 people standing up against corruption. But at the end of the day, I know that true power, because of those 2 votes, my one vote as an individual and the Speaker's one vote as an individual, that true power doesn't come from inside the building. True power comes from organizing. True power comes from opportunities in spaces like this. True power comes from outside of the building. And I think that's one of the things that I really wanted to share today. Because when I look at this room, there are so many of you that I don't know, but there are many of you that I do. I see Marty Townsend, an incredible environmental justice organizer from Sierra Club. I see Tia, who's worked on so many things throughout the years that I knew from YPDA. I see Nate Hicks, who was a huge organizer when it came to the big win that we just had the opportunity of celebrating, which is the living wage proposal that was passed. And I will say, it wasn't one day we decided that we're gonna do this. It was 5 years of intense organizing to make that happen. And it wasn't one person, it wasn't one legislator, it was a coalition of people coming together, deciding that we're gonna do something. Because one legislator, I've introduced pieces of legislation on the minimum wage, on tax fairness, on creating paid sick and family leave. If advocates don't show up, if we don't build coalitions, if we don't get people in the room, if we don't force legislators to hear and to listen, we won't pass any of it. An idea is just an idea until we have a movement that's making it happen. So I think one of the things that I wanted to talk about is, and I'm not sure what else is going to be covered today, but I want to talk about the fact that we can't change government until we know how it operates. And I'm so proud to have signed this pledge, because it's helping people understand the corruption that exists in the legislature so that we can shine light on it. And I would highly implore every single one of you, if you haven't already, to check out the public access room. It's a free space in the legislature and the building is open. Go to the public access room, learn about how the building operates, learn how to testify. And then if you can start testifying, the best thing that we can do is learn how to organize and come together. I have this book here, it's called Shut It Down. And it's by Francis Fox Piven. And it's a really amazing organizing book. You can't see it. Here we go. But read books like this. Donate to candidates if you can. If you really want to, if you really care about helping people, donate to candidates that you believe in. Connect with friends and phone bank or door knock. Learn who your representative is, because there are so many people that I think that have contacted me or have contacted a different legislator that don't know who the legislator is. Learn who your legislator is. Get engaged and get involved, because we can see wins. And I think the $18 minimum wage increase is a win. And we only got that $18 because advocates set that tone. Not because the speaker decided, because advocates said, this is what a living wage is going to be. So for me, I think the one thing that I hope you leave with is that I hope you're proud of yourself for showing up today. Because today you took a step towards building a bigger table, towards building a space that actually works for every single one of us. Today you decided to show up, and we're going to take the next step together with the Our Hawai'i Pledge, because the only way we create our Hawai'i is together. So thank you again, Evan, for having me, and thanks everyone for being here and taking the time to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Janae. Let's give a big virtual round of applause. Oh, yep. I see some clap emojis, some fingers going up. I'm feeling fired up and inspired after that. And yeah, thank you for being here and sharing with us. And more importantly than that, for all the work that you've been doing year round in the legislature and in your community and across the islands to really be at the spearhead of this movement and really showing what is possible when we have people's legislatures in office. And we're here to have your back, and hopefully we can get you a lot more friends after this election cycle and in election cycles to come. So with that in mind, want to get to the meat of it, which is how we're going to do that. Sorry, I'm just trying to find that slideshow again. We are going to talk now about how we can get more candidates on board with the pledge, so that we can get more Janae Capella as well. There's only one, obviously, but more people like Janae into office who can fight for us, who can fight for local values, for local people, and for the things that matter. So I am about to share my screen again. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about getting candidates on board. So we're going to go through this pretty quickly, but I'll let you know that everybody's going to get sent a detailed organizing guide after this call. So if you don't have to take notes, you can if you want to, if it helps you. But we're not going to leave you out there stranded. We're going to give you step-by-step help to do this. We know a lot of you might be taking action really for the first time here. So we boil this down into 5 easy steps to getting a candidate to sign the Our Hawai'i Pledge. So the first step is to identify the candidate that you want to sign the pledge. That can be at the local level for city or county council. Maybe you've got a mayor's race. It can be the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. It can be the governor, lieutenant governor, anything really. The second step is to print out the pledge, which we will also make sure you have access to. And find that candidate, get them to sign the pledge. And this one's really important. Take a photo or a video of the candidate signing the pledge. And if you can, post it on social media, tag Our Hawai'i 808 or use the hashtag Our Hawai'i Pledge. If it didn't take a photo or video, it didn't happen. Okay, so this one's really, really important step. And the last one is to just let us know how it went. So we're gonna jump into a little bit more about what each of these this mean? So, this formatting did not turn out to look great. So sorry if this is a pain on folks' eyes, but you might be wondering, you might not even know who is running in your area, or even maybe who your current representatives are. Luckily, the state of Hawaii's election office makes it easy for you. There's a link that we'll send you later where you can look up a sample version of what your ballot is going to be when you go to vote this August and then again in November. And it'll show you every candidate who filed that you have the opportunity to vote for, from the city and county council level all the way up to the top of the ticket, the governor, Congress, et cetera. And, there's no right or wrong way to approach this. That you can start with local, the more local level, and that can have some real advantages. Sometimes statewide candidates like to see that there's sort of a movement of folks behind this pledge before they get on board. Or you can start at the top. Maybe you have, maybe you think that you can get somebody who's running for Congress to sign, and then maybe that can create a trickle down effect. Or maybe you can get somebody in one race to sign, and that encourages other people that are running in that race, whether it is a race for Congress or a for State House, whatever. So there's lots of different ways to do this. And, we encourage you to have fun, play these candidates off of each other. We want everybody to be signing this pledge: Republican, Democrat, Green, Independent, nonpartisan, Aloha Aina Party, whatever. These should be common sense values that everybody can get behind, and commitments that every candidate can make. And if they can't, well, then we need to be asking what they are doing running for office to represent the people of Hawaii in the first place. So that's identifying a candidate. And again, we'll make sure that you have the tools to find the candidates in your area. The second step, again, is asking candidates to sign. And we do encourage you to try to reach candidates in person if you can. That in-person, face-to-face pressure, and also sometimes public environments can often lead to more positive outcomes where they feel the pressure of the people. But we also encourage you to start easy, take it slow, and go from there. So you can send an email. We have actually an easy to use email click tool, which we'll send you that can email all of your current representatives. So that you've asked them at least once. Or you can look up the email address for any candidate that you want using the state's database, and we'll give you template emails to build off of as well. If you know candidates that are running in your neighborhood, use those personal relationships. Call them up, talk to their cousins, talk to their aunties, their uncles, your aunties, uncles, whoever they are. Try to get these people and tell them why it is important to you, and that it's actually important to a growing number of people across the islands that they make this commitment and sign this pledge. And then, the last thing is, the last things are that to try to confront them at events. Maybe it's a friendly event. Maybe it's a gathering that they're having for an issue that's on the pledge, and they know that people will be really excited if they sign it there at that housing rally or at some environmental meeting. Or maybe it is a forum where multiple candidates are all speaking, and you get to ask a question, and then all the candidates feel that pressure from each other to all sign the pledge. And the last but not least, we encourage you to maybe, if this candidate needs a little more convincing, to organize your community and get folks to create a petition for these candidates to show them that a lot of people, not just you being nagging and annoying, want them to back this pledge and go ahead and deliver it to them. So that's asking candidates to sign. And the last thing that I want to leave you with, there's one thing that you remember from all of this. It's that whatever way you are getting candidates to sign the pledge, you need to have these 4 tools at hand, okay? So 4 tools. If you're gonna take notes, this is the moment to do it, okay? The first tool is you need to have the pledge with you. Print out that pledge, print out a dozen copies of the pledge, go to FedEx, whatever you need to do. A lot of us don't have printers anymore. It's 2022, I understand. Print out that pledge, bring it with you, put it in a folder, put it in clipboards, bring it, keep it in your car, take it to the bar, whatever. Find the candidates wherever they are and get them to sign the pledge. Number 2, you're gonna need a pen for them to sign it with. And number 3, your smartphone or a camera to take that picture or video to document it and post it on social media so the world knows that they've taken the pledge and they're held accountable to it forevermore. And last but not least, like everything that we do in our Hawaiʻi, it's better to not do it alone. Try to bring a friend or 2 along. You know, it might be hard to hold the pen and the pledge and take the video all at the same time. So hui up and laulima, many hands working together. Those are the 4 tools: pledge, pen, camera, and friends. Can't go wrong. With that, I want to pass it over to our last speaker, Lauren Reggo, who has been organizing on Maui and has just done an incredible job of getting a bunch of candidates over the last couple of weeks to sign the pledge, to share a little bit about her experience so far and any tips that she might have, so that you know that there are human beings out there who have already done this and you can do it too.
Thanks, Evan. When Evan asked me to talk, he was like, can you come and talk about how a normal person like gets people to sign? And I was like, you know, I'm not normal, right? Like at all. So one of the reasons I think that I'm very successful at getting people to sign is that I like fully with my whole heart believe in this movement. Like I have been waiting for this to happen. Like my spare time, I am like fully intimate with all of the campaign spending reports. I know more about donors to races than the Campaign Spending Commission quite often. And so this like pay to play kind of boogeyman kind of thing is so very, very real to me. I have so many life experiences where I've watched a council member suddenly be absent from voting on something to when, you know, the next election happens and the reports come out, finding out that a developer was funding that council member right at the moment of the deliberations. Too many incidences to like list, but I believe it with my whole heart. So that's like the first part for me is why I've been successful. Secondly, I find that I'm calling people directly. I'm kind of onboarding them. I have a copy of, I have done nothing with a physical piece of paper, not to like undermine your whole thing there, but like I have screenshots. I have like a saved text message of like the full, what the pledge is. And I'm able to do a lot of things in that way. It's been a lot of hand-holding. People want to talk about it. People want to talk about the very specifics of the words. Like, what does this mean? Like, we're only going to support Kama'aina, or what does this mean? Is there going to be dark money supporting this? What if I don't know, you know, that they share the same values? Like things that people just need to kind of like talk it out. So it hasn't been like a ambush, you know, kind of situation. The other thing that I found success with, and Evan posted that link about where you can find your candidate, but quite often that's going to have their direct contact information. So that's a really great place to look versus their campaign website. But sometimes it's their office manager. Sometimes it's their campaign manager who does that kind of vetting for the candidate. And so by just, you know, being like some people, it's taken multiple conversations to get it to happen. And then ultimately, you know, the value in like this value of a group of people, this movement. It's so hard to stand on your own as a candidate, but the more, like, it's really exciting, and the more that people sign on, the more it really just does become like, why can't your candidate sign this? If you're, this is the baseline of what we need to be doing. So I haven't done the flip side, which is to, you know, try to confront somebody that isn't able to sign it. But I can also see, you know, how the value is in separating, you know, some of our candidates who are grassroots candidates, they need this to separate themselves from the other people in their race. So I've had tons of success because I just fully believe it.
I'm muted. Awesome. Thank you so much, Lauren. Yeah, for all the work that you've been doing on Maui to get folks on board with the pledge, and for sharing some of your real life experiences with folks. Hopefully that's encouraging that, yes, we can do this. It's not going to be easy 100% all the time. There will be things that come up, but yeah, you got to try, and that's what it's all about. And we'll be here to help when those things come up. And we'll talk about what that can look like as we close out over the last in the last couple of minutes here, which I am going to try to do quickly because we are running just a few minutes behind, and I do want to be respectful of everyone's time this evening, and also give some time for the Q&A, which I imagine folks might want to get into. So this will be the last time that I talk too, which is exciting for everyone. So here we go, sharing screen one last time. All right. So with all that, we have heard from Sautia about why he is in this fight. We heard from me about what the plan is and what the pledge is and how we are going to win. We heard from Janae about why it matters, and just heard from Lauren about how we can do it and that we can do it. So the question now is, who is ready to do it? Who is ready to go out there and try to join this movement and try to get candidates on board? So yeah, make some noise, do something with your hands, drop something in the chat if you're feeling ready. Great. All righty. So how can we take action with our Hawai'i going forward? There are three major ways that you can take action, and I'm going to go ahead and drop in this link in the chat that you can pull up as I go over this. And I really encourage everybody to fill this out right now and let us know what works for you. If you want to wait for me to go through this to give a little bit more information, feel free, but we'd love folks to fill out this link. So way number one is that any of you, anywhere, can ask candidates in your community to take this pledge. We've gone through how to do that. And like I said, we have an organizing guide that everybody who RSVP'd for this call is going to receive after this call, to walk you through, give you instructions, give you the links, give you the best practices, template emails you can send for how to do this. So that's way number one. Go out there and ask candidates in your community to take the pledge. Way number two, and this is our main ask for the night. This is our biggest ask, is that we're creating something called the Our Hawai'i Action Team, where we want folks who are really, really excited about this pledge to join this team and learn about opportunities and ways to confront candidates across the islands about this pledge, and to really, really try to organize others to do so as well. The third is we're creating an amplification team. So one of the powers of this movement so far is that we have created huge reach online in ways that no really political message or movement has done organically in years. In the first 3 days or 4 days alone, our launch video for this campaign was seen by 500,000 people, which is like over a third of the islands on social media. And that doesn't include people who saw our KHON coverage or other things. So this message has already reached a lot of people, and we've gotten really those 30 candidates to so far off of that amplification alone. And so as we go forward, that's just going to be all the more important. And the last but not least is we need help. We're like a real grassroots bootstrap operation. And we have a lot of things that we could use some support around. So you can volunteer with us doing social media, creating graphics, working on our website, managing our inbox, doing research, helping to elect candidates. That's going to be really important in about a month. Yeah, whatever else you think you might be able to do to help that we have no idea, because you're so unique and special and talented, and we'd love for you to share it with us. So again, there are these 5 easy steps to ask candidates in your community to take the pledge. And this is our beautiful organizing guide with Angeline's face on it from the video there, right at the top, that everybody is going to receive after this call. That's way number 1 to help out. 2, again, is joining the action team. And again, please do fill out this form right now, now that you've heard what some of these things are, to let us know how, how you want to get involved. Again, action teams are going to go to events like this. This is a lieutenant governor's forum, and try to confront candidates about the pledge directly, other public events where people might be. And look, we already have some events coming up in the coming weeks, ID'd for you. So there's an event this week in Hawaiʻi where a Republican candidate for governor is going to be having a kanakapila. There's a candidate forum coming up for these House districts in Oahu, and then a governor and lieutenant governor's candidate forums coming up in the following weeks in Honolulu as well. We're going to keep identifying opportunities like this and sending them out to folks. But I'm just curious, like, is anyone here like feeling like they could already go to one of these events and that they would be willing to go to one of these events to ask a candidate to take the pledge? Looks like maybe we got a couple of takers. Awesome. Yeah. Heck yeah, Rosalind. I saw a couple others. Lauren too. Wow. Amazing. So again, please fill out this form and let us know directly. And yeah, the last one's joining our amplification team. And again, joining us to volunteer in some other way. And all of that stuff is listed right there in the form. So that's it, folks. That is the link of how you can get involved. And I just wanted to say mahalo nui to everybody for joining us. We had 40 people consistently sticking through this for the past hour throughout the night. Some came, some went. That's a really, really exciting start for this movement. And just really, really overwhelmed with the diversity of folks that showed up, the places from across the islands. This is a really, really powerful movement that we're building, and I'm so excited that you all are interested in being a part of it. So fill out that form and let us know exactly how you want to help out. And with that, we're going to go ahead and close and open up for open up for any questions that folks might have. So if folks want to stick around for that, they can. But as they say, that concludes our formal programming. So everyone's welcome to leave as well.
Evan, I noticed in the chat, somebody is asking if the candidates have questions. Is there support? And I know that you were really helpful with me in some of those like early questions.
Yeah. Yes. So yes, there is support. The best place for any time you might have a question about the pledge is to shoot an email to this email address, pledge@our-hawaii.org. One of the things that we're going to be doing, which goes back to this volunteer ask, is we're going to be training up ordinary folks to be able to respond to questions that might come up from volunteers. So we're going to create sort of a list as we go of like the common questions that have been coming up, and then train inbox volunteers to be able to answer those questions. So really excited about that. That feels like something that you don't have the ability or time to like be running around the island chasing down candidates, but you could like be sitting at a computer, like responding to people who are doing that. That's a great team for you to sign up for. So again, please fill out the form. Thanks, Lauren, and whoever it was that asked that question. I see folks are raising their hands, which is great. So I'm gonna go to those folks first, and then awesome, thank you, Kalea. Yeah, and then if other people have questions, just say you've got a question in the chat. Sherry, I think you were first. Go ahead.
Hello, this is Dave.
I did.
Yeah, I know. It's just Evan and Lauren and Marty and Janae. Great work. This is a beautiful campaign, and this is a new idea. And these new ideas, we've been all working so hard and slogging through trying to make change happen, and coming up with new ideas or a new way to attack the problem is brilliant. And I just want to commend you on this whole effort. And just one quick comment. I think we have to be careful of our words. Leadership is a big problem for me. What we need is representation. Too many representatives get in their office and they think they're leaders, and then they won't listen to you anymore because I know everything. I'm the leader. And we really need representation. And I think that that's what you folks are doing. That's what Janae is all about. That's what Marty Townsend's all about. They represent us. And I really appreciate what you guys are doing. This is a good way to bring on new representation for the people. Thank you.
Right on. Well said, Dave. Thanks for being here with us, and yeah, for your support of this movement, and all the work you've done over the years as well. Great. Rob Gratz, over to you. I think you're up next. I'm gonna go. You need to unmute yourself, Rob. Let me know if you're having trouble. I can do it for you.
There we go.
Yep.
I share that sentiment. I think the idea of a pledge is a masterful one and long overdue. In that light, is there a link ultimately that we can be provided and also provide to our customers or members that they can go to find out who has signed the pledge and who has not? And as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't need to have a video or a picture or anything, just simply a list of names, who's in and who isn't.
Yep, that is a very valuable resource. And it can also be really helpful to getting more people on board, showing candidates that, hey, like this isn't some fringe thing. Look at all these people that have signed this already. You're on the outs here if you don't sign. Yeah, so I just dropped that link in the chat. It's on our website as of today. This is a thing a lot of people have been asking for, and we try to keep it updated a couple times a day. That list of a live list, if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll be able to see everybody who's on board.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Other questions? Great. I see Cheyenne and then Ingrid.
Hi. So I was wondering, what kind of opportunities do you guys have maybe that are not on the islands? Because this is something that I would love to get involved in. But my family no longer lives on the islands. We had to move to the mainland. So I'm wondering, especially as like an active college student, like, is there anything that I can do to still contribute? Like, is there any way I can still get involved even though I'm not able to actually, be there to get the candidates' attention and, necessarily be active in that way?
Yeah, totally. Love that. Thanks so much, Cheyenne, for being here. It must be late if you're on the mainland. Yeah, appreciate your love for the islands. I myself was away for a number of years, and there's nothing like home. So yeah, we definitely want your support and want you helping out. I think if you want to start with that volunteer form and checking it out and filling it out, there definitely are some things on there that could totally be remote ways to help, like the inbox team, like writing letters to the editor or op-eds, joining the social media amplification team, and really just like getting your friends and family back home involved and informed about all this is really important too. And then as we get closer to the election, we're going to have like much more sort of grassroots opportunities to people to help phone bank and text bank and things like that for candidates that we really need to get into office to make this all work. So yeah, hope that was a start. And again, feel free to shoot an email to that address if you want to chat more.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Cool. All right, Ingrid, go for it.
There we go. Oh, okay. Well, so it's great. You have a list on your website now listing who has and hasn't signed the pledge so far, or who has anyway. What I was asking in the chat, are you able to give us a list of who's just plain ineligible to sign the list already due to their campaign donations? And I put in the chat, I would guess that, for example, Josh Green probably wouldn't be eligible to sign the pledge. But just, I'm so busy these days, I'd like to know ahead of time. Oh, is it? I already know Natalia and Kai. I have their signs in my yard. I already know they both signed the pledge.
Right
but,
on.
Like say Chris Lee, who's our state senator, you're in Kailua too. It just would save time if you know already. No sense even asking that person because they already have donations that make them ineligible.
Yeah. So one of the neat things about the pledge is that nobody is ineligible to sign it because it is a forward-looking pledge. Like Saltia said, one of our core values is aloha, and part of aloha is mercy and forgiveness. And so, if somebody has been against all this stuff, but decides that they're ready to see the light, we want to welcome them in with open arms. They'll be celebrated and applauded, not shamed for their past action. If they want to send back some of the money, that's they're welcome to do that too, but not necessarily a requirement. Now,
I didn't realize that. I probably wasn't listening well enough.
It is a common misconception about the pledge. There are pros and cons to this, obviously, but the reason why that is the policy of the pledge is because this is a new initiative, like Dave said, and really the pledge, this idea of not taking money from these sources is actually actually a really radical break with the status quo in Hawaii politics. Even some of our,
well, we've been working for it for maybe 50 years, but yeah.
Unfortunately, it's just the status quo that
Right.
it's okay to do this, and what this pledge is about is creating a new common sense and consensus that we all actually are coming together to say, Aola, no, this is not okay, and so we want to give people the opportunity to do the right thing. Now, for folks like, for example, let's take Josh Green or maybe an Ed Case, they're probably not going to say yes, because so much of their campaign strategy and the way that they are running their political operations has to do with depending upon these mega campaign donations from corporate PACs and lobbyists. It is sort of their MO. But I would love to be proven wrong by any of them, because it would really change the way that somebody like a Josh Green might govern if he were elected governor of Hawaii, to not be beholden or accountable to those interests going forward.
Thank you. Sorry, I was losing power. So
No, that's a really important.
Thank you very much.
Great question.
Thank you for all you do. This is wonderful. I love the pledge.
Right on. Well, I hope to see you around Kailua, battering people about it.
Yeah, well, we pretty much stay close to home. I don't even go inside grocery stores because of COVID, but we did drive all the way up to Laie to get yard signs and bumper stickers from Kaikahele last week.
Right on.
So.
Right on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Ingrid. Yeah, are there any other questions? Cool. Well, I think hearing none, I just want to say thanks again to everybody for joining. And yeah, it was so great to have such a big group on this first call. Again, there is the volunteer form to sign up. If you aren't sure what ways you might be able to help out, that's okay. If you're interested at all, just go ahead and fill it out, and we can figure it out from there. Yeah, we will be following up with an email sometime tomorrow with that organizing guide and all of the information that you need about the pledge and the campaign going forward. And I know Kailea said that she's gonna bring some friends to the next call, and we will be having more calls, and we'll be sending out information about that soon too. So again, mahalo piha, everyone. Thank you for being here, and have a great evening.
Thank you.